It was a franchise-changing day for the Tennessee Titans, and fans' excitement should be through the roof. I'll break down all of the big news on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. It was a franchise-changing day on Wednesday for the Tennessee Titans in the best way possible. They are going to let Ran Carthon cook, and Brian Callahan was officially announced. Also, Wesley Woodyard went scorched earth on Mike Vrabel. We're going to dive into all of that. Before we do, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the number one Tennessee Titans podcast in the world. Again, franchise-altering day for the Titans, for the best. It goes back to the conversation that we had when the announcement that Brian Callahan would be the next head coach happened. Like, we are seeing the Tennessee Titans grow up in front of our eyes, evolve from one of the quote-unquote poverty franchises in the NFL that constantly lags behind other organizations. We are seeing the Titans shift into one of the teams that they need to be, the type of team that they need to be to compete in today's NFL. Ran Carthon elevated from general manager to executive vice president. He will have total control over the football operation. Chad Brinker, assistant general manager, elevated to the president of football operations. Brian Callahan, again, officially installed as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Burke Nihill, the president of the Tennessee Titans organization, called this day a watershed moment for the Titans. Nihill said this is a day that we will look back at as, again, a franchise-altering day for the Tennessee Titans. And the big word that I have been stuck on all day is sustainability. I've been a Tennessee Titans fan for 25 years. They've had good seasons. We had the Super Bowl run. We had the 2008 team. We had the 2019 team, the 2021 number one seed, but it never felt like it was something that they would be able to sustain for years to come. But now, the way the Titans have decided to evolve as a franchise is going to be able to create sustainable winning, not just luck-based with antiquated ways of doing things. John Robinson saying, I am the analytics department. The Titans not having an analytics department or the worst analytics use in the entire NFL. We are talking about a team that has been lapped by other teams in the NFL in terms of their innovation in areas like analytics, data use, sports science, technology. And think about what is happening now. The Titans have finally established a power structure that matches what other teams around the NFL are doing, with Ran Carthon at the top, Chad Brinker underneath him, and then the coaches underneath that with Amy Adams-Strunk at the top. They are going to put an emphasis on these things that we're talking about, incorporating data analysis, incorporating analytics, incorporating sports science. I have heard over the years, numerous times from numerous people, the Titans aren't on the cutting edge. The Titans aren't innovative. compared to the rest of the teams in the NFL. In terms of, like I said, sports science, we talk about the injuries that the Titans have dealt with. It's because the Titans are not on the cutting edge with some of the other things that NFL franchises are doing to deal with injuries, to deal with salary cap management, to deal with data and scouting. The Titans have not come up to the level of the modern NFL. And you want to know how I know that the franchise knows that? A quote from Amy Adams Strunk, Titans controlling owner, that is the number one quote of the day from me. And she said, "This is not my father's NFL. This is not my father's NFL. This is a great day to be a Tennessee Titans fan. This is, a franchise-changing, magical moment where we see the Tennessee Titans go from the mom-and-pop shop on Main Street to a corporate office Wall Street franchise. Your Tennessee Titans are growing up in front of you. They are leaving the nest. They're going to college. They're getting hired. Again, welcome to the future, ladies and gentlemen. I talked about this after we got the news of Brian Callahan because I knew what his signing as the head coach meant. It meant a continuation of the Tennessee Titans' evolution into a modern football franchise. Again, it gets me emotional. You can tell the passion that I have here. You can tell how much this means to me, all right? I've been following this team, giving this team my everything. I've dedicated my life to this team. And to see them actually invest and actually commit to modernizing the team. We saw it last year with Ran Carthon, a GM from one of the best organizations in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers, who do things the right way to create sustainable success year after year. He brings in Chad Brinker with his IP models, his individual IP models that he owns, and his absolutely fantastic background. Brings in Anthony Robinson. We are changing from the eye test, old school, caveman style of football that this team has been based on for the last 25 years and moving into the modern space of the NFL. Amy Adams Strunk committed today. Today is the day that this franchise changed forever, that they made a decision that we are going to do this the right way. And Burke Nihill admitted in his interview on Wednesday that last year the Titans did not have the right setup, that they did not have their organizational power structure in the right place. But they made a decision. Amy Adams Strunk made a decision that we cannot do it this antiquated way anymore. It is time to modernize. It is time to join the rest of the modern NFL. What an incredible moment. What an incredible day this is for Tennessee Titans fans everywhere. Your franchise, your favorite team is growing up right in front of your eyes. But what I want to do now is I want to get down into the nuts and the bolts of the decisions that were made today. Talk about that power structure. What does this mean? What is Ran Carthon responsible for? What is Chad Brinker's role? What is Brian Callahan's situation with this team? We're going to dive into all of that because the Tennessee Titans have decided we are going to let Ran cook, which is what I've wanted all along. We're going to dive into that in just a moment. Before we do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, like the Titans are trying to do with their franchise. eBay Motors has superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, things I've never even heard of that go with your car. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it is easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home the win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, breaking down a franchise-changing day for the Tennessee Titans as they move into the modern NFL after 25 years. So excited for the future ahead for the Tennessee Titans. But now I want to kind of get into more of the detail discussion. What is the power structure? What is the responsibilities for each member of the organization? What exactly has changed? I'm diving into all of that, including going over some quotes from Amy Adams Strunk that, again, have me fired up. Before I get into it, I do want to thank you guys again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. And shout out to my everydayers. Let me know who you guys are down below. Couldn't do it without you guys. And if you aren't an everydayer, then you need to be one. Throw a thumbs up on the video as well. Show's always free. All I ask for is the press of a button. But like I said, Ran Carthon was promoted from simply general manager to executive vice president of the Tennessee Titans. He will have full roster control. And it was admitted that last year, that was not necessarily the case. Ran Carthon and Mike Vrabel were working together to assemble the roster. Not now. Ran Carthon is going to cook. It is his role. It is his job. It is his responsibility, which, in my opinion, you hire a general manager. That should have been the way that it was all along. But the Titans are correcting their previous mistakes and, again, evolving and modernizing their process. So Ran Carthon, not only the general manager of the team, but the executive vice president of the Tennessee Titans. He'll have full roster control. He will have control and say over the coaching, over the personnel. That includes people outside of just the roster and the coaches. The coach, Brian Callahan, will report to Ran Carthon. That is his boss, okay? He'll have control over personnel, like strength and conditioning, nutrition, blah, blah, all of that. Also, scouting. He will be in charge of the scouts and the scouting process. Now, one of the reasons that the Titans wanted to do that is because of Ran Carthon's body of work, his experience, and his network within the NFL. Ran Carthon is as connected as you could be. And Burke Nihill called the hiring process of Brian Callahan a Ran Carthon masterclass. I want to pull this up here. Amy Adams Strunk, what she had to say about the decision. Quote, over the past year, Ran has impressed me and our staff with his innovative approach to roster building. Ran's exceptional reputation around the league as a talent evaluator and culture builder was a clear competitive advantage during last year's free agency and draft process, as well as our recent search for a head coach. Simply put, Ran Carthon makes the Tennessee Titans a destination for the league's top talent by expanding his role to include full roster control and oversight of the coaching staff. Our organization will now benefit more completely from Ran's unique ability to build and lead a championship caliber football team. Let Ran cook. But as for Chad Brinker, hired from the Green Bay Packers as the assistant general manager for the Titans last year, a guy who has an MBA from Northwestern, who is a former NFL player himself, father was a coal miner, who has developed his own IP models, his own personal IP models that he gets to take with him from team to team, and the team that he left is not allowed to use it because they are his. He is incredibly innovative. He is a trailblazer in the NFL. He is as smart on the business side and the tech side as he is the football side. And now he has been given more power as well as the president of football operations for the Tennessee Titans. Chad Brinker is going to report to Amy Adams Strunk, but Amy Adams Strunk has said that Chad Brinker's job and Burke Nahill just co-signed this on the radio on Wednesday, that Chad is meant to do all of the stuff that Ran shouldn't have to worry about, and he can deliver that information to Ran Carthon so, quote, Ran can pin his ears back and create the best roster possible. So Chad Brinker is going to be in charge of data and analytics, sports science, technology use within the organization, like groundskeeping, lifting equipment, recovery equipment for the trainers, medical, salary cap. So Chad Brinker is basically going to handle all of the data collection aspects. He is going to get all of that data and all of that information and deliver it to Ran Carthon so that Ran Carthon can make the best decision possible. And this, my friends, is how great businesses, not just in the NFL, but in the real world operate. You have one person who makes the decision at the top of the chain, but if that person is smart, they surround themselves with the most talented and intelligent people possible, and they intake and respect the input of all of those people and use that information to make the best decision possible. This is how good businesses, not just in the NFL, but in life, operate. This is how smart decision makers do things. They surround themselves with talent and intelligence and seriously respect the input of those around them who they have installed to help them. And that is what's going to happen now with the Titans. This is not just about the NFL. This is not just about football. This is how successful companies operate. And this is what the Tennessee Titans have established today. And they admitted that this is not the structure that they had before, and it was a mistake, and they wanted to make these changes to improve and modernize and evolve. Again, an incredible franchise-changing day for the Titans. Ran Carthon as executive vice president, Chad Brinker as president of football operations, working together under Amy Adams Strunk, with Ran Carthon as the top guy making the final decision on the roster and everything else. I mean, it's beautiful. It's incredible. Again, I cannot say enough about how happy I am with this football team right now. After 25 years of being the caveman, of being archaic, of being antiquated, to see them commit this way. Unbelievable. Finally, all of you guys crying and worrying, just relax, man. Brian Callahan was officially announced as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, and he is going to have his opening press conference at 1 p.m. Central Time on Thursday. Here is what Amy Adams Strunk had to say about Brian Callahan. Quote, Brian has a track record of success and a range of experience that has prepared him for this opportunity. His football knowledge and his enthusiasm for the game really stand out. And beyond that, we think his ability to lead will make him an ideal fit for our franchise. If you look at his history, Brian has been a part of a Super Bowl winning team and another team that advanced to the Super Bowl. He's worked in a variety of dynamic offenses with top flight quarterbacks. At each step of his career, he's shown the flexibility and intelligence to make an impact. During his time with the Bengals, he was trusted with a number of responsibilities: offensive design, quarterback development, a contributor to free agency and draft processes, and showed the ability to be a resource in all of those areas as we seek sustained success. Again, sustainability is the word of the day, and pursue a championship. Brian has seen firsthand what that looks like and is the right person to lead us. I mean, if these quotes from the owner of the team don't fire you up, I don't know what else to tell you. How could you not be incredibly excited about where this team is going? And I want to end the conversation. Well, let me say this. Burke Nahill, the president, who had a big interview, also said that a big thing is Brian Callahan and the organization believe in Will Levis as a top-tier quarterback. That is music to my ears. But I want to finish with this. And it goes back to the quote that I talked about in our first segment. Amy Adams Strunk is talking about Chad Brinker and his IP models and his analytics use and his data analysis and all those things. But I just want to go through this. Quote, this is not my father's NFL. Oh, man, that gets me fired up right there. As our league continues to evolve in areas like analytics, sports science, and technology, football organizations have become more complex and multifaceted. I want our football operation to be at the forefront of the NFL as teams continue to find new competitive advantages. Goes on to talk about Chad Brinker's role. Chad's oversight of these areas will allow Ran to focus his full attention and energy on building and leading a championship team. I mean, this is not my father's NFL. Amy Adams Strunk is telling you, she is telling the fans of her team that we are growing up, we are modernizing, we are innovating, we are coming out of the past and into the future. And again, like I said, after Brian Callahan was hired, this is an incredible franchise-changing time for the Tennessee Titans, and your excitement should be at an absolute all-time high. But part of moving into that new era of Tennessee Titans football is getting rid of the previous era. And my God, did former Tennessee Titan Wesley Woodyard go absolutely berserk on Mike Vrabel in a radio interview on 104.5 in Nashville on Wednesday. I'm going over all of the revelations from that interview here in just a moment. Before I do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, the NFL season is obviously over. The playoffs are starting to wrap up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel. Again, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. The app is so easy to use. Money lines, spreads, player props, single game parlays. They have live same game parlays. You can go into the parlay hub and find all the most popular plays. It's absolutely excellent. And I got to say, FanDuel is just aesthetically pleasing. The app just looks fantastic. It's great to track your bets on. So much fun. Make sure that you visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. It's FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about the franchise-changing moment that this is for the Tennessee Titans. We talked about the organizational structure and how exciting it is to see the Titans let Ran cook. But before any of that information hit, Wesley Woodyard went scorched earth on Mike Vrabel and gave us some incredible insight into things that happened while he was with the team. So I'm going to go into what Wesley had to say. Before I do, though, again, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Also want to let you guys know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts from Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Also, it's Thursday. I host the Thursday show of the Locked On NFL podcast, talking about all the latest big-time NFL news. I would appreciate your guys' support over there as well. But outside of all the big news we got on the Titans, again, Wesley Woodyard, former Tennessee Titans linebacker, who was there for the 2019 run, came in 2015, saw a lot of things change, saw Mike Mularkey, saw Mike Vrabel. He really went off on 104.5 The Zone, I believe it's called, local Nashville radio station. The show was Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ramon Foster, shout out to you, has been on the podcast before, friend of the show, appreciate that. But, man, Wesley gave us a lot of insights into, in my opinion, why Mike Vrabel failed here and why things went sour. Let's go over this because a lot of people are going to say and are already saying this is just a disgruntled ex-employee. This is sour grapes because Mike Vrabel didn't want Wesley Woodyard, replaced him with Rashawn Evans, replaced him with Jayon Brown. This is just a former employee who's mad at the guy who got rid of him, wanting to get a lick back. You know what I mean? And look, excuse me, I am not going to sit here and say that that's not what this is. There is a ton of that. Clearly, some of this is just sour grapes. That's not something that you can deny. But the cold, hard facts and the specific examples that Wesley Woodyard provided about Mike Vrabel, you cannot deny those either and brush those off as sour grapes. He gave you literal specific examples. And here's what they were. Number one, in the defensive meeting before the Titans played Kansas City in the AFC Championship game in 2019, Dean Pease and Mike Vrabel got in a big argument. Dean Pease came back into the defensive meeting to talk to the players. And Dean Pease started kind of saying, hey, sorry you guys had to see that. Sorry that happened. And in the middle of that, what Wesley Woodyard called a bonding experience between the defensive players and their D coordinator, Mike Vrabel barged in, stole the clicker in the film away from Dean Pease, and began to coach the defensive meeting like Dean Pease wasn't even there. Completely disrespecting one of the most respected defensive coordinators of my lifetime. That goes hand in hand with, in 2019, in that game, Mike Vrabel stole play calling away from Dean Pease at halftime, and the Titans blew a 10-point lead against Kansas City in that game. And the crux of the issue, according to Wesley Woodyard, is that Mike Vrabel wanted to run cover 4. He wanted to run a ton of cover 4. And as Wesley Woodyard said, cover 4 is a thinking coverage. You got to match up with guys on the fly. And that is not what was best for Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson. So Wesley Woodyard said that the defense was like, Coach, that is not what's best for our players. Why would we do that? Logan Ryan is a forward player, not a backwards player. So Mike Vrabel wanted to totally change the coverage identity for the Titans and go with a ton of cover 4 when that did not suit his player strength. And again, you see multiple facets of what's wrong and what the weaknesses are with Mike Vrabel. He's disrespectful to people. He does not trust the people around him. His ego gets in the way, and he is not about molding his system to his players' talents. He wants players to fit into his. And if they don't, they're out. And that's why we see a ton of players leave the Titans and go on to be better elsewhere. Because Mike Vrabel refused to adapt to his players. He tried to force them into what he wanted, not what was best for them. And those are two examples right there from the same game where that happened. Also, Wesley Woodyard said that when Mike Vrabel came in, he decided to kick the players' kids out of the locker room. No kids allowed in the locker room, but he allowed his own kids to be in the locker room. How disrespectful. Wesley Woodyard said it was insane that we're going to spend all of our time and all of our energy devoted to your football team, and I can't even bring my kid in here to let him know why his dad's not home all the time. Now, eventually, Mike Vrabel changed that back, and Mike Vrabel allowed the kids to be back in the locker room and be a part of it. But, man, to start off that way, when you first got to be the head coach, to make that rule, it's ego, it's control, it's power. And then, another anecdote, again, these are cold, hard facts and examples here. The very first day that Mike Vrabel was hired at his team meeting, he completely crapped on Mike Mularkey. Completely destroyed him, and then called all of the veteran players entitled. The players who had just gotten the first playoff win the team had seen in over a decade. That changed the culture from the 2014-15 disasters to the 2017 team that won in Kansas City. Very first day, come in and crap on your former coach and crap on all your veterans. Insane. He also talked about, guys leaving and playing better elsewhere because Vrabel wouldn't adjust. Talked about how Vrabel would completely overwork the veteran players on a weekly basis. Again, is this sour grapes? Absolutely, that's a part of it. But these are specific examples and stories of things that really happen. And look, do all of these things and these examples mean that, that's why the Titans failed? No, there are a lot of good players that played better after all of these Wesley Woodyard era players were gone. But again, these examples give us a window into Mike Vrabel's ego, Mike Vrabel's power-hungry control nature. So it is not a surprise that, yes, these may be sour grapes things from Wesley Woodyard, but it is obvious that Mike Vrabel's inability to respect the people around him, his inability to adjust his system to his players' strengths, have hurt this team over and over. And it is ultimately what was his undoing, because his inability to trust the franchise, his inability to trust a new general manager, his inability to play nice and collaborate with anybody was his undoing and why ultimately he had to be fired. And it's no surprise that in all of the reporting that's come from national people on Mike Vrabel's next job, it has been said Mike Vrabel is rough around the edges. Mike Vrabel can be difficult to deal with. Mike Vrabel is a my way or highway guy. It all makes sense. And as I talked about a week ago on Friday, Mike Vrabel power trip is why he ultimately had to be let go. And out with the old, in with the new. It needed to happen. And now the Titans can find a collaborative coach in Brian Callahan who will adjust his system to his players and is willing to be part of a team to drive this franchise forward. It is a great day for Tennessee Titans fans to get rid of that toxicity and move into the modern era with a modern structure. That, though, is going to do it for today's show. So excited for what's to come. I'm going to be breaking down Brian Callahan's press conference on tomorrow's show. But as always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.